Welcome to Of Sound Mind and Spirit. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Lisa. We're sisters walking together on a journey of faith. We're not perfect.
And we definitely don't have all the answers. We're inviting you to walk with us as we explore ways we can better know and grow in our faith together. Welcome to another episode from Of Sound Mind and Spirit.
Today, we're going to broach a subject that we never really expected to talk about. Okay, maybe we just don't want to talk about. But we're here, and we know we're not alone. We know that you're out there, and you might also be experiencing this thing called midlife. Oh, yes. It has a really big impact on our lives and on our faith journey. So we're going to talk about it. The good, the bad,
The ugly.
the difficulties. Yeah, the ugly. Is there good? I don't know. But we're just going to put it out there. Before you think we're going to tell you all the answers and secrets to successfully navigating this really interesting point in our lives, nah, remember, we don't have all the answers. So we're just going to have a discussion and hope that you will let us know how you're feeling and experiencing this too. Or if you've been navigating it for a while, maybe you have some answers for us. What do you think, Shelley?
Right. You know, when we were younger, I think all the things we used to think about was middle age only happened to men.
Yeah.
You remember they talked about that midlife crisis, and the men would go out and get like fancy red sports cars, or we'd hear about affairs and divorces and second wives, but now we're middle aged. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but
But think about that. Why do we hate to say that? I mean, gosh, there's so much angst around this.
I don't know if I'd call it angst so much as it's just everything's changing.
Yes.
You know, and I don't know, I feel like when we were younger and living in the middle of all of that, we didn't really think ahead to how to plan or prepare to be middle-aged. And maybe we didn't talk about it, we just didn't think about it, and suddenly we wake up and here we are. And what does that look like for us?
I think one thing that hit us is that when we were kids, middle-aged was 40, right?
No,
And
get out. Stop.
Yeah, no, it was. Really remember all the over-the-hill parties with the black balloons, like parents, and remember? And see, what happened is middle-aged kind of got pushed back. I think people were getting married a little later, having kids a little later, and it got pushed back. And so now middle-aged is kind of, I'm going to say, late 40s into the 50s, really 50s for that point.
Why don't we push it forward and make it middle-aged more like 60?
Let me know if that works. Tell my knees that.
Yeah. No. Knees, back, finding a comfortable pillow.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can tell perimenopause to just put a hold on the middle-aged thing, I would be forever grateful. Yeah. Let me know how you can fix hot flashes.
Well, the other thing is we're both Gen Xers, and I keep seeing all of social media being flooded with Gen X remember whens. And
Oh, yeah.
when did it become our music playing in the grocery store?
Well, I like it, but yeah, it's hit me that we're now vintage. Yeah, like when we were kids, the 60s music, like Beach Boys and stuff was on the radio, and that's what mom was like, oh yeah, this was my, and now you're right, it's all the 80s and early 90s music my kids are listening to it as oldies, which is crazy. It's
I
classic
just don't think
rock.
I can wrap my head around it. No, classic rock is the 70s, not the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Nirvana is not classic rock.
Yeah, the Seattle sound is now classic rock. Yeah, so everything is changing. And I feel like we're changing, but we're not always keeping up with everything as well as we used to. And what scares me is, besides our clothes from, like, I should have kept my high school clothes because they're back in style, but I feel like we're now turning into our parents.
Yes. My husband tells me that all the time.
Yeah. When we were young and like we would make fun of our parents for not understanding something or not knowing the hip music or lingo or whatever.
I think it's technology for me. Some of the technology, it changes so fast.
Everything though is become just a little fancier and changes so fast. So in it, we've mentioned a few body changes, which
I think
yeah,
knees are the biggest one for me. All these aches and pains and shoulders, sleeping on your shoulder wrong. Uh,
God, we sound
you
so
know,
old, right?
everything pops when you get up. My kids laugh. They can hear me coming down the stairs because my ankles and my knees pop.
Snap, crackle, pop. Yeah.
Yes.
So you've got the body stuff, and I mentioned menopause or perimenopause, which is a huge slap in the face, which is something our mom's generation really didn't talk about. And I
Mm-mm.
feel like I'm very proud of Gen X for stepping up, and I hear it talked about more and more. Or maybe it's just Facebook showing me ads for menopausal belly now that I didn't know there were all these things for.
I hate to say this. I don't see those ads, so that might be
Oh.
you.
Maybe so. Parenting changes. You know, our kids we're launching kids. Some of us are facing empty nests, or maybe older kids. I feel like we just got a handle on parenting, you know, like teenagers, and now college. And that's just a whole nother, it's just changing. It's more and more. It's kind of like when you thought you had potty training figured out, and you're like, yeah, I got this mom thing, and then you hit, I don't even remember what was next, like preschool age, and you were like, oh gosh. So yeah.
I remember having littles and I asked somebody with older kids, oh, it must be so much easier when they're older and they can do these things for themselves. And she just laughed at me and said,
Yeah.
oh, honey, it's not, life doesn't slow down and it doesn't get easier. It just gets different. And
Yes.
you just roll into it. You just kind of keep going and time just passes. You just adapt. And I see that now.
Parenting young adults, it's very different than parenting your teens and your preteens.
It
So
is. And I hate to say this, my kids were, I think, comparatively to stories I've heard, I think my girls were really good as teenagers. And but launching them into young adults has been, don't tell them I said this. It's been more of a challenge trying to help them adapt, and COVID didn't help, the pandemic and all the anxiety that's out there today for this generation,
mhm.
but it still feels more challenging. I think I'd rather be chasing a toddler with my younger knees.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then you roll into your marriage changes.
That's true.
You
That's
know,
true.
just
Because our husbands are getting older too. And so
yeah.
they're facing their own health issues and they're not as young as they used to be either. So,
Well, all the things that we're thinking about, they're also experiencing and thinking, maybe not menopause, but all of the other things they're going through too. And so um you just start thinking about it, and it does change your relationship, especially like I said, facing an empty nest. And I look forward to, I actually have a list on my phone of things that we're going to do together when we don't have an empty nest, because otherwise we're just going to sit and like stare at each other because we don't have to drive anyone anywhere anymore.
oh, well, we have the opposite problem because we have the bonus baby.
Yeah, you're still going to have a
He's
kid at home.
11 and we're like, come on, how many years? How many more years? So we thought we'd be empty nesters with both of them in and out of college now, but we're going through it all over again. And you know what's weird about being an older mom?
Mhm.
There's so much I just don't care. I mean, it's like been there, done that. Oh, you wanted this, that, the other? Whatever, sure. You're
Yeah.
still here. Go make yourself something to eat.
Yeah. And then something that you and I are experiencing with our parents is aging parents.
And I feel like that could be a whole other episode to talk about too,
Mm-hmm.
watching mom and dad get older. And I don't know how you feel about this, but part of it for me watching them get older is mom had me when she was really young.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel old until I watch them look old.
Yes.
And I see things that are happening to them and I realize that that's going to happen to me. And maybe it's
Ah.
not as far away as I would like it to be.
Ooh. That's
And
yeah, I think I think taking care of the parents and facing all of those challenges is definitely, we need to make an episode for that, for sure, because I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things I was saying earlier, we didn't really plan to be here in this moment of our lives. And talking about it now and looking ahead at mom and dad, I'm wondering, what do we need to start doing to be ready for that stage of
Oh,
life?
yeah.
And how many more years? What does that look like? I mean, mom and dad are really, really lucky. They're still very mobile and they're very active and in relatively very good health. So what should I be doing now? And what were they doing when they were my age?
Yeah. All very good points for another episode. The other thing is financial challenges, because retirement is coming. Hopefully, retirement is coming, and that's always been that thing that's so far away, right? You're planning from the time that you start working, and all of a sudden, oh, wait, we might actually want to do that. So how do our finances look? What do we need to do? How do we launch our kids so that we, can retire?
Yeah. Well, and you and I were talking about this earlier. For me, it's more about changing careers
Mm.
because I took a pause during the pandemic, like so many other people. And I am finding that being over that number with the zero after it that puts me in middle age.
You can say it, 50.
Stop it. I'm going to admit it is. I find it harder to get a career job. I can probably go out there and get any kind of a job, but I've been looking for jobs within my career, and the technology has changed in the time I've been away, and I find it much harder to find jobs. They want younger employees who are fresh out of college or have a few years, who are growing in their career, and I feel like even as a manager, there's no real room for me to come in and be a part of that team. And it's funny because we have a lot of knowledge and wisdom to get things done. And I've worked in two different spheres of business. And so you would think that we'd be the first to hire,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know what's keeping it from out. But I feel like I've done a lot of interviews and not had anything yet. And that's been a little demoralizing, and it makes you feel very stuck in life.
But at the same time, you're also thinking, what do I want to do? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and it's almost like I'm at this point. People are living longer as a general rule, in this day and age. And so I met a guy a man at a conference, and he started his, we'll call it, second career at 50. And he's, now a speaker and writing books and doing all these things. And he didn't do any of that until after he was 50. And so I feel like it's almost like, okay, now what? Like, it's time. I'm supposed to be doing something else, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And
then
that's a
what?
really good point. I mean, Laura Ingalls Wilder didn't write her best-selling books until she was in her 60s. So, I mean, I still got plenty of time. I mean, we'll put that positive spin on there.
There you go.
I'm not dead yet. But you're right. And trying to figure out what you want to do next is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
For me, midlife has been feeling, and this is just me personally, I've been feeling kind of stuck and mired, and taking that break and during the middle of the pandemic kept me from pursuing interests I wanted to do. And so now I'm kind of feeling old and forgotten in certain ways. And I can't be alone in this. There've got to be other people that took a break or changed careers and I've already changed the careers once, but that are here and now kind of going, well, what do I want to do and how do I want to spend my time, and what is that going to look like? So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I need a place to belong again.
Yeah.
Don't take that personally, Lisa. I still
No,
love being here with you. And I
we're still
appreciate
sisters. You're stuck with me. I hate to tell you. Well, and you and I are experiencing a little different in that for me, I would say in my early to mid 40s, especially, I felt very settled. I felt very confident and comfortable. I hate to say that out loud. I feel like is spinning plates, like the old circus act or whatever, they're spinning the plates on a needle. And I felt like, okay, this over here, these plates are going pretty good, so I can go concentrate on this over here. I could balance it all. I was working it. And now, oh my gosh, I feel like everything has just gone wobbly. Like they're all wobbling at the same time. So I feel like it's difficult to get my bearings, to get my focus, to really concentrate because I feel like I'm all over the place, balancing many, many, many different plates.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can see that. I think we both described the same feeling, but in very different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I'm kind of waiting to see what's next, and you're kind of waiting to see if you can get your plates all in order.
I know. And maybe I should just let them all fall and start over. I don't know.
I think you should take them down, put them in the dishwasher, set that sucker on deep clean, and then pick which ones you want to use again.
There we go. I know.
Clean the house.
Hit reset. Hit reset for sure. But you know what makes this more upsetting or difficult for me of everything else is that in my head, I really thought that by now, I'm turning the big 50 this year. In my head, I really thought that I would just be more settled, have it all figured out. Yay! I mean, that's me. I thought I had the answers. Let's do it. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know.
Okay, I have a question since you mentioned
Okay.
your birthday coming up. When you were
Yes.
30, did you
Mhm.
have a dream or an idea or a vision of what your life at 50 would look like?
Nope.
Good, me
Honestly,
neither. I
no.
was really hoping you would say no.
Mm-mm. Everything was focused on 40, I feel like. I feel like
I'll
everything
agree
was
with that.
focused on 40. And then when I got to 40, I was happy and fit and like I felt like I was really doing well in life. I just felt like this is no big deal. Everything is awesome. And now I don't know. It's like
I
feel
agree.
my body slowing down. I feel consumed with all of this pressure, which is weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. 40 was my best life. I have to say,
Yeah.
38, 39, 40, dare I say 41, I was
Mhm.
living my best life. And I kind of miss that now. And yet at the same time, I'm having trouble finding the motivation to put that much effort back into it. Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah.
you can't be the
No.
only one mentally just kind of going, huh.
Yeah. Can I just watch some Netflix?
Well, and we didn't have all the streaming services in those years either. So it's much easier
No,
to
I
just
meant now.
veg and watch TV now.
Now, some days I just want to veg and watch TV or read a book or just take a walk with a podcast because I find myself not wanting to think about it all because I don't know. I'm gonna blame the feminism of the 80s and 90s. I just am. I feel like we grew up in a time where women were shouting from the rooftops, you can do it all. You can, get your education. You can get that high powered job. You can get married and have the family and you can just do it all. And you can do it all without sweating. I think there was even a commercial for antiperspirant that don't break a sweat. And I guess in my mind, I mean, I went to law school. I did the lawyer thing. I got married. I had kids. And at some point I realized, okay, this is not my life. Like I can't handle it all. I just can't. And so I stopped practicing law and stayed home with my kids and then kind of took a career change into communications consulting and things like that. But I couldn't do it. And so I think that I'm going to blame the feminism of the 80s and 90s because I still feel this pressure that I'm supposed to be doing something amazing, like world changing. And I'm not.
I agree with you there. I don't know that I want to be world changing. I think part of my feeling stuck and feeling slow is that I am home with my child again. And I'd never been a stay at home mom. I had always been the one working 40 plus hours outside the house and then trying to do it all in the weekends and juggling. And then you and I have had always very different points of view and perspectives because we had different lives during those years.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm kind of like, what am I doing? So I really need to find my motivation. Somebody tell us how to get motivated at this age, please.
Well, I do love, and you mentioned the whole, we used to have that stay at home mom, working mom, kind of debate a lot in our younger selves. And
You can
we,
call it a debate if you want to. That's not how I remember it.
well, and I celebrate there are women who have it figured out or appear to and are rocking it. And I love that. And I feel like I used to be one of those. And I'm just, like you said, I feel stuck and not knowing what's next. And I know there's someone yelling at their at our recording. They're yelling at us right now, going, "You're raising children," and that's how you're changing the world, is by raising these amazing young people to go out and do what they need to do. And I know that, so I don't want to overlook the importance of being a mom and focusing on, that we're raising up the next generation of good, God-fearing, faithful children or young adults.
Which our children are. I'm very proud. I'm very pleased to say that I'm so happy that my children are, even with going through all the stuff they're going through. They do make me feel like, yes, I've done something pretty good. I didn't mess them up much.
Well, you don't know that yet. They're still young. I know. This is when you wish you had that manual. Like, did I check all the boxes? Are we doing good?
Do you think mom and dad look at us and say that?
I think their generation is different. I really do. I don't think they ever, I hate to say worried, like, I think we're a lot more like existential crisis kind of people now than like them. They just like, you're gone, you have an education, you have a job, go.
Yep. You graduated college, get out of the house, go away.
Yeah. So the thing now is it is time. I mean, what we're talking about is all these changes. And so it is time for us to say, okay, God, what do you want from us? Like, I think that's the point of us acknowledging that we feel stuck and that we're going through all these changes, is because maybe there's something that God is kind of prodding us with.
Something he's preparing us for.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what do we now accept? What do we fight? And then what do we get help, find support and get help for? Or what do we release and say, that was a dream that is not, I don't want to say not going to happen, because it could happen. But maybe what is not a priority.
I think part of that too is discerning, what is your, I'll use the word bucket list. Is there a bucket list? And what is it you maybe thought you would have accomplished by this age? And what can you still work towards and make it in part realistic and in part a dream? I mean, we don't have all the answers. So there's a lot of choices, what do we want to focus on? What are we called to do? And, I know I'm not supposed to be doing this. I do very much feel like I'm just kind of in a waiting room and that something better or something else is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm just ready to get out of the waiting room. like waiting for the doctor, you sitting there, you've already read the 10-year-old magazines, or what's next?
Yeah.
See, do they still have magazines, or is it all on your phone now? Just scroll.
No. I've been to a few. They have magazines. They're just terribly out of date. So, and they don't change them. I feel like I'm plagued with indecision. I almost have too many choices on my plate. So I flit around from one thing to the other and don't commit. And part of me thinks, you know what? That's okay. 'Cause I have the opportunity. I can try out these different things. And then part of me is like, but what do I want? Am I trying out these things because I'm meant to, focus on one of them? I will say, I'll plug it here, but you and I have talked for years about doing a podcast, absolute years. And I've begged you and pleaded and cajoled you. And
yes, she has.
We are actually doing it, and so I will give us a check for that one. Like,
yay!
We're following through with that one. So,
it's funny you say that. As you're talking, I'm looking back on the last couple of years and thinking that's exactly right. I've had the opportunity to do things or try things that I didn't have time to do before. And instead of feeling stuck, I agree with you that it's about having unlimited opportunity ahead of me that is what's making me sit here and drag on and on and on.
Yeah, almost like it's too many choices or possibilities. And I like what you said about bucket list. To really, I think that's something I want to take to, because most people think bucket list, you're like, I want to go on a trip, or I want to learn how to fly fish, or whatever. What are my hopes and dreams for this, we'll call it second half of my life? What do I want out of life? What do I hope for? What do I see my vision in my future? And maybe that's something I need to take to prayer and really ask God what He's leading me to.
Yeah. You saying that, and what popped into my head right away was volunteering and serving others. And maybe it's not volunteering, maybe it is some form of a career or job, but going back in and really serving other people. If we're focusing too much on ourselves at this time and stage in life, then we lose sight of what's really out there and all the other people that we could be working with or working towards or helping. And so I have to take that to prayer.
Mm-hmm. And that's really it right now, is that we need to trust in the Lord, that we need to lean on our faith to help us figure out what's next and where we're going, and how to handle really how to handle all these changes.
You
Yeah.
know what? Saying trust in God and letting go and surrendering, that takes on a whole different
Ooh,
meaning at this age than when we had littles.
doesn't it? It really
Yeah,
does, doesn't it? It
it
I
does.
feel like I feel like God's giving me more reasons to be like, no, I got this. And I'm like, are you sure? You really sure? Because yeah, I'm gonna hold on tight for a little bit longer. And God's like, no, let go.
Well, and what is it we always just say? Everything's on God's time. Like, okay, well, you're going to give me a
Yeah.
nudge and tell me which direction, which door do I pick? Door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. And those of you old enough to know that reference know what I'm talking about.
And just having the faith that whatever door you pick, God's going to be with you and help you on that. It might
Right.
not be
Right.
perfect, it might not be amazing, but He's with you, and He will find a way to use it to glorify Him.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think lastly we should mention the value of developing strong friendships. Using this time of your life to really surround yourself with people who can walk with you on your journey, whoever
Mm-hmm.
they are, whether you find them in church or maybe you are still working and you've got good work friends, colleagues that you can share even over lunch. Y'all can talk about what's going on in your life. I mean, I know we have a couple of really good friends that we can kind of turn to and share our stories with and get their advice, and
Could be a sibling.
could be a sibling. Wasn't thinking of you when I said that. I was thinking of a couple
Aw,
other ladies I
I know.
know, but
Well, and I'm going
but
to
there is
add,
value in being around and sharing with other people.
oh, yeah. And I'm going to add, be okay talking about it. I think that we
Hmm.
hold stuff in because we feel like we should have the answers, and we feel like we should know what we're doing by now. And I really think that it's funny because I think that other people don't expect us to have the answers, but we feel like we should. You know what I mean? Like, we're placing an expectation on ourselves that other people don't have for us. And so once you open up and start sharing a little bit about your struggle with other people on the similar stage of life or path, I think that you'll find more support. Maybe they don't have the answers either, but maybe we'll be able to support one another and realize we're not alone. And in that vein of supporting one another, we would love to know if you have words of support for us. How are you doing on this journey of midlife? Are you a little further along, maybe, and have some pearls of wisdom for us? Or maybe you're just stuck in the chaos like we are, and just want to say, I got you. I understand. But we would love to hear from you. We want this to be a dialogue, and give us some suggestions for maybe some future episodes on midlife and what you would like us to talk about. And as always, we're a new podcast, so leave us a review, hit subscribe. Come find us over on our blog, our website at soundmindandspirit.com. You can send us an email, soundmindandspirit@gmail.com. Or we're on Spotify, and they allow you to leave us a voicemail, which we would love to hear from you, especially on this topic. All right, Shelly.
All right, Lisa.
You ready to be done with this topic?
I think it's time to go out there and figure out what we're going to do next.
I agree. All right, bye, y'all. See y'all later.